Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Battle Brothers: The People's Militia. So I've played a little bit off camera here. Um, it's only been about, I guess, maybe 36 hours in game or so. I started off here in Angelin and made my way up to Lokvold, Gunborg, and now I'm way over here in Eidsvikborg. And I haven't found any more contracts for for any greenskins or orcs. And I wanted to kind of start the recording because I felt like I was pushing my luck the longer I went without starting the episode. So um, I'm starting to get the feeling that the greenskin invasion is coming to a close. I was kind of expecting to find some sort of a contract around here. I did see here that marauding greenskins is still an event for the city, the Citadel Eidsvikborg, but there's still no contracts here. Um, I I might even say this might be the first time I ever came up here. I don't know if I've ever been here before. Um, I guess the map is a little bit has been pushed back here, or the fog has been removed, so I might have walked through here, but man, it has been a long time since that, so I don't know if I've been here. um, I guess I could see, I mean, I did stop through here, but yeah, okay, I guess I've been to most places at this point, but anyway, I just don't remember ever seeing this name before, so maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I did look at this, of course, so maybe I did walk through here. Anyway, that aside, I haven't found any new contracts. I've been kind of stopping around looking at some of the gear, maybe trying to spend a little bit of this money that we're left off with, but I'm not seeing many good options here. Um, this fighting axe looks pretty nice actually, but ooh, a pole hammer. I don't think we had ever taken a pole hammer, but I don't really think. I mean, Bjarni might be a good melee skill for that, but I'm not going to be purchasing one at this point. I really love the pole hammer. It's one of my favorite weapons, particularly for a back lineman. So, anyway, I haven't seen anything. I haven't been able to find any more um, contracts here. So, with that in mind, what I'm going to do is kind of step out into the wilderness a little bit and try and find some more orcs and continue on that path. But I didn't want to go too far without starting the record. Okay, well, I'm gonna read this one out because I'm not sure if this is actually the end. It would be funny if it is, because I think I pushed my luck a little bit too much then. You come across a handful of soldiers from House Berenger. They tilt their caps to you. Evening, mercenaries. Not sure if they're about to attack, you make a subtle nod toward Hank. He puts his weapon within hand's reach and nods back. Return your attention to the soldiers, giving them a friendly wave. Their lieutenant steps forward, grinning. Oi, mercenary. We've little use of you in this world now. Slowly, you lower your hand, hovering it over the pommel of your sword. You ask what the man means by that. He laughs. You haven't heard. War's over. The Greenskins have routed from Ursfels just a few days ago. Scouts report seeing them bastards running for the hills every which way. Fighting amongst themselves, the orcs killing the goblins, goblins killing the orcs. Just a full-on rout. So yeah, noble houses need not pay your sorry arse for nothing now, because us real soldiers got it under control. Now why don't you and your pathetic lot clear out of the way? Us fighters got places to be, understand? Oh, interesting. Well, it sounds like the war's over. They are in full rout, but I don't think that we're supposed to be treated this way at this point. We have definitely pushed the orcs back, and without us, I can't imagine that this region would have survived. I'm not going to move out of the way of these heroes. So I think, interestingly enough, that Hank is going to be the one that's... You handle him, Hank. I don't know why we've chosen Hank. Hank is one of our newer brothers, if I remember correctly, but let's see where this goes. Ah! Yeah. Well, that's interesting, how we just started the episode. The soldier's lieutenant glares at you. Do as I said, Sellsword, or there will be trouble. Ignoring him, you give another nod to Hank. He gets up, the blade of his weapon loudly scraping off the dirt. Well, he has a pike. Interesting. The soldiers turn to the mercenary. He hefts his weapon into his hands and stares back. As the lieutenant starts to talk, Hank bluntly interrupts. Shush, little man. I see softness in your skin, not a scar to be seen. Eyes as fresh as the day they were born, hands as smooth and as untouched candles. If you was of the fightin' sort, you'd be out there in those battles you speak of, not out here pissin' into the wind. I'll give you two options because I'm feeling nice. First option, are you listening? First option is this. Go where you are going and don't say another goddamn word. He pauses to hold up two fingers. Option 2 is a mystery. Speak and ye shall learn of it. The lieutenant's eyes has gotten a little wider and his mouth infinitely quieter. He grimaces at you, but all you can do is shrug. After another moment, the soldiers hurry away with determined silence. Oh, we got more here. Okay. I was gonna say that was pretty short. Hank laughs it up, but the incident has you wondering if perhaps it is finally the time to retire. How many more of these cock-ups are in your future? How many more battles? How many more dead men will you have to bury? The company would do well standing on the foundations you've built for it. But on the other hand, if you retired now, what adventures would you miss out on? So, we have won. We've beat the first crisis, which is as far as I'm going to bring this series. I think this is really a good time to end. We're about 40 episodes in or so, and I think that's a great time to start a new one. I am going to retire from mercenary life and end the campaign. And if you're interested in seeing where the brothers split off and their paths led after the People's Militia departed or broke apart, then stick around for this part. I'll go through this and read this. I think it's worthwhile. Pretty interesting writing. I enjoy the writing of Battle Brothers. So let's see what they've done. Battle of Many Names. That's what the scribes called the great clash between all of mankind and the vast hordes of greenskins. You thought those stories were a bygone age, but the horde of savages pouring over the eastern horizons proved otherwise. This time, the orcs and goblins learned to invade all across the land instead of in one place. Despite their new strategy, the world of man has a new weapon. The People's Militia. Perhaps it is just your own pride speaking, but you truly believe your company's admittedly greedy ventures proved crucial in the turning of the tides of green back. And with the greenskins defeated, found yourself with a pile of gold to retire on. Quite a pile, actually. I think we had 25,000 crowns that we ended the campaign with. So leaving the command of the company in the hands of its best and brightest. Former militiamen, such as Burt, eventually left the People's Militia, traveled the lands, visiting villages and helping them establish credible militias with which to defend themselves. Finding success in the increasingly dangerous world, Burt eventually became a known name, called upon as sort of fixer to come and ensure these villages would remain safe. Last you heard, he's purchased a plot of land and was raising a family far from the strife of the world. Okay, so Burt. We're gonna go back and check out once I'm done with this reading. We're gonna go back to the brothers and check them out, and maybe talk about each of them on a one-on-one basis, just to see how they grew, what maybe we could have done differently. I don't know. We'll check it out. So anyway, lost my place here. Okay, what was a tailor doing in a mercenary company? A good question, but Alfred certainly answered it well by killing so many enemies they could have made an epic tapestry out of a story. After a few good years in the company, he eventually left to start up a business creating clothes for nobility. His name is world-renowned, known world-renowned, and he gets so much business, he's making a very different killing these days. So, Alfred the Tailor. Your days are now spent tending to a garden and slaying the rabbits which venture into your newfound domain. Every so often you'll get wind of People's Militia doings, stories about its successes, and unfortunately the occasional news that one of the brothers has fallen. These tales are a welcomed respite from days upon days of chasing rabbits out of your garden. You spent so much time fighting, you never realized what wars were waged between men of harvest and these goddamn nimbling creatures. Great. And here's the company, the People's Militia, that we've grown to love and even sometimes frustration over the coming days. The last 110 days, I believe, is how far we've made it, or 111 maybe. So yeah, I think what we can do here is kind of take a look through one by one, and remember who each of them were to begin with and who they became. And we're going to start off on the left front here, and then we'll just go through the front line and then the back line. First up here is Sigurd the Vagabond. Now, Sigurd the Vagabond was with the company for 109 days, so he wasn't one of the first, I think. He might have been somebody that came in later. Oops. Yeah, I mean, it says 110 days, so I'm not sure. I assume that... okay, now it says 110. Okay, so he was one of the first then. That's what I'm getting here. He took part in 100 battles and has 63 kills. 100 battles in 110 days. That's pretty close to a 1-to-1 ratio, battles to days. And about 60% of those battles, he had a kill in it. The most powerful opponent he vanquished was a Necro Savant. Pretty impressive for a Vagabond at that. He also was a pit fighter for 2 matches in the arena, won both of them. He's missing an eye, but that didn't really stop him through the battles. This is where I'd really appreciate hearing from the viewers, you guys that have made it this far into the video and into the campaign, which is both appreciated very much. And I wouldn't mind hearing about how you think the perks were spent. Now, I'm not going to go through perk by perk. on this in this. But as I'm discussing what I've basically done for Sigurd here, you'll get an idea of what I gave them for the perks. And if you like some of them, agree or disagree completely, then that's where I'd like the discussion to be in the comments section. Um, where do you think that I could have improved, or where do you think you agree with and you like the builds in general? These are things, yeah. Just open up the discussion in the comments section, please. Next up is Volmar. Volmar was or is a butcher. Used to be a butcher, I guess. And he joined the party, I guess, what would that be? 16 days in, took part in 83 battles and had 72 kills. Again, the most powerful opponent was a necrosavant. So it's interesting, I guess in this flank here between the two of them, they probably had a couple necrosavants maybe in one of the battles, and they both killed one of them. I don't think I dealt with necrosavants too much. Um, so it might have been one or two battles, but he was also a pit fighter, but only there for one arena fight. He is club-footed. So here's the thing. He's also a team player, and I believe he became a drunkard later. That's the thing here. Club-footed. Um, he made it through 83 battles, killed 72 enemies over 94 days, and he's club-footed. This is where I'm trying to get at with you do not need the perfect brothers to have a good time, nor beat, uh, in order to beat the first crisis. Volmar here being club-footed is certainly not a good perk or a good attribute trait for a brother, but he still did it. It's not bad at all, and he didn't have the most fatigue that like he had about average fatigue probably about across all of the brothers here. So club-footed, you don't need the perfect brother to beat battle brothers. Next up here is Guntrum, who ended up being a front reserve, but as you can see, we've lost a couple brothers. I believe we had 18 or even 19 brothers. I think 18, but it could have been 19 brothers at one time. And we did end up losing a couple brothers in those last couple of fights. So our front reserve ended up in the front line, was with us for 64 days, took part in 48 battles, and has killed 43 enemies. The most powerful opponent being an orc warrior. And again, I mean, okay, short-sighted. He does have a fear of greenskins, so he did have a bit of a disadvantage against them. But he had a pretty good amount of resolve. Again, he was a brawler, so that's probably where he got that resolve. Maybe I would have put in a +4 here or there, but I don't think I put too much into his resolve. I really wanted his melee skill to increase, and as you can see, 63 melee skill, and he survived. We gave him a good weapon that has more chance or more rolls for hits, and he's just eventually going to be hitting. And this is a weapon that's going to be doing some good damage, particularly if it hits the head. So not bad. He ended up losing a finger. I don't know when that happened. It'd be cool if it said that somewhere, missing a finger on day blah blah blah. That would be pretty cool. It'd be a nice addition to this. Next up is Otto, our cleaver master, right? Who never ended up holding a cleaver, and I believe he held this arming sword for most of the time. It did have a whip on him, I remember, but I never ended up finding that military cleaver, which is really what I wanted him to be holding. He used to be a militia in his old days before joining the People's Militia, so he probably felt right at home, right? He is greedy, but bright, and he's only a level 6, so he must have joined. Oh, okay, here we go. He's been in the company for 32 days, took part in 26 battles with 19 kills. Again, the most powerful opponent was an orc warrior. But I believe we definitely kept him because of this +3, or the 3 stars in melee skill. Didn't have a lot of stars anywhere else, but that's, again, it's not totally necessary. He ended up having 20 melee defense at level 6 without any stars. So we probably just got a little lucky. I think taking gifted was probably a bit of help in that front. How much were we paying him anyway? 18. Yeah. Okay, so Volmar here is a level 10 butcher, and we're paying him the same amount for a level 6 greedy militia. Sorel, our gunner, who ended up on the front line, and basically our slingshot for Kurt, had been with us since the beginning, and he's a militia as well. Strong and a night owl, so he's kind of a good character, or a good base build for a ranged character, particularly with that range skill, 3 stars in range skill. That's going to go a long way. But the night owl, extra vision at nighttime, is going to help out as well, particularly with him on the front line. That's going to be really nice to get that vision of the enemy at night. I know that his spear ended up coming in handy quite a bit towards the end with his overwhelm. The fact that he had pretty good initiative at the end, which did help him out with his dodge as well, in combination with anticipation. I think these 2 perks here with an initiative of 110 when he's holding the handgun went a long way for range defense. Next is Bertle, another militia background. Okay. And Bertle has been with us for 89 days, took part in 55 battles, and has killed 35 enemies. The most powerful opponent he vanquished was Baltazar the Toothless. I don't think I saw. Oh, okay. Sorel was the killer of Mosh Shaggot, who was the orc warlord. I believe because he had the boar spear and was able to kind of poke at him at the end there, his melee skill wasn't too bad either. So Bertle was one of those reserve. He definitely spent some more time outside of the company on the reserve, on the bench, than inside the battles, but still did a pretty good amount of damage while in the battle. He is fragile and has a fear of beasts, and he took on traumatized later as a permanent injury. I believe he must have fallen and then taken traumatized at some point. Again, it would be really cool to see what day he got traumatized. Yeah, it'd be cool. Anyway, that is reducing his hit points. Sorry, the fragile is, and traumatized is reducing resolve and initiative. Again, Bertle made it to level 7. I'm sure he can make it a little further if we were to continue, but fragile, again, not a good perk. Both of these are attribute or trait, fear of beasts and fragile. And I threw him on the front line, and he survived. He did actually go down. Okay, I give you that, but he got back up and continued to fight as a reserve agent. Next is one of our beasts, is Alfred. Alfred was a tailor of all things, but starting off with sure footing and tiny gave him +10 to melee defense from day 1. But that tailor, man. So Alfred, joining the company from day 1, took part in 99 battles and has 88 kills. I'll be interested to seeing once we're done who had the most kills, took part in the most battles, that kind of a thing. He took out the most powerful he took out was just a necromancer, which is pretty interesting. I guess I don't know where these levels are, necromancer versus orcs, but I assume that maybe a necromancer is higher than orc young, but I'm not sure about orc berserkers or warriors. I don't know where these stand, right? What's more powerful? Um, but yeah, I mean the 2 stars in melee skill and the 1 star in initiative, ending the campaign at 140 initiative, and he was just about to level up one more time. So I would have been pretty interested to seeing him take another 5 into initiative, most likely. Um, some more into melee skill, but even then, I mean, a Taylor 75, he's almost done leveling up for getting maximum rolls. After that, after 11, he can get +1 forever into melee skill. But he's not the best. He's not the best brother, but he was one of our beasts, one of our heroes of our party. Hans, our stunner, was a refugee with hesitant, so he has pretty terrible initiative here. Hate for beasts, so he had a bit more resolve for the beast, but we didn't fight too many of those battles. Missing ear and a missing eye, so he went down a couple times, and pieces of his face continued to fall off or fall out, and he kept getting up. So Hans really pulled through for the company, for the mercenary band, and continued fighting on and living on to fight in the next battle. Pretty interesting to see that. Next up is Hildrick, one of our another front reserve. I mean, this guy took the broken elbow joint in that fight against Mush Shagget, and I believe that's when he went down. Um, I think so. So yeah, that's going to reduce his melee skill and his melee defense quite substantially. Um, yeah, 20 and 30% respectively. So pretty nasty permanent injury after going down, but he did survive, and he continued to fight a couple battles afterward. Um, we were a bit desperate toward the end. We did have some brothers that missing pieces of their face and bodies and breaking some joints. We needed to have everybody in because we had lost a couple front brothers. I think we lost a front and a back actually, and that made our reserves really need to come forward and continue fighting. He was a butcher before he joined the People's Militia, and he was with the company for 56 days in 42 battles and 21 kills. He also took out a Necrosavant. Interesting. So these 3 here took out a Necrosavant. I'm wondering how many more Necrosavants we took out. That's kind of a number. We can use that as a gauge at how many Necrosavants we fought. Because I can't assume that they took out more than one. Maybe they did, but I can't assume that we took on more Necrosavants than maybe 4 or 5 within one battle. I don't think that was even that didn't occur at all. I don't think. And Hank, for some reason, was our spokesperson here at the end. Um, he did come in with 3 stars in melee defense, and I was kind of molding him into a frontliner, but with that resolve, it was going to be pretty difficult for him to stick around for longer than 1 or 2 hits to his body. So I kind of kept him on the back line, hoping that we could get his melee defense up. He did reach level 5. But as you can see, he was with the company for 27 days, 18 battles and 16 kills. So he did all right on the back line. He probably, I don't know, I guess only 16 kills, almost 1 to 1, 1 kill per battle, something like that. So in a way, that's cool. He's doing his part. I'm okay with that. The biggest, most powerful opponent was a brigand raider for him. But as you can see, I mean, I don't want to repeat this too many more times, but you don't have to be perfect, or your brothers don't have to be perfect to make it to the end, to make it to the crisis. And once you get through that first crisis, um, things, it's not that it gets easier. Things still, you can still find some good challenges, but you do start to make quite a bit of money from contracts, and you're able to purchase more heavier gear and better weapons. You don't need to just rely on um, stealing the weapons off of the dead corpses that you've mutilated on the battlefield. So you can purchase some better gear and weapons. He was a deserter, right? So that's why he had some a pretty low resolve. I don't know if I had said that, but that survivor, that's going to keep him alive a bit longer too. So Kettleman, man, good memories with Kettleman here. He was a poacher beforehand. He's also a survivor. Was with the company for 87 days. Took part in 76 battles and had only 24 kills. He also killed the Necrosvant. There we go. So we're up to 4 now. Um, Only 24 kills. I feel like I remember Kettleman taking out with headshots more frequently than 24. Um, Perhaps all of those 24 kills were headshots. I'm not sure. But I remember he had some really clutch headshots when we really needed it. Um, yeah, so that's kind of surprising. I know with the Headhunter and crippling strikes, man, I love this combination. It's just going to screw up the enemy with headshots, and it's just going to, if not kill them, then do quite a bit of damage with that crippling strikes. Um, don't think there's much more here. I mean, he didn't have stars where we really wanted them to be, but he still ended up with 76. Not bad at level 9. Next up, the legendary Sergeant Akmar the Fearful. Now, he was our minstrel from day 1, and for the fear of beasts and the fear of undead, we got lucky in a way that he didn't have fear for greenskins for the crisis, because that would have dropped his resolve. You know, we didn't really, for the amount of times that we the battles that we had the pike instead of the battle standard out um, in his arms, we really didn't need the battle standard too much. I believe towards the end there, we really started to need it in a couple battles towards the orcs, particularly against Moss Shaggot, if I remember correctly. Um, and yeah, I think that is when it started to become noticeable, when Otmar the Fearful had the courage to fight against the orcs, the greenskin invasion. And I love that he's so fearful of these enemies, and yet has a resolve of 100. You know, 10 minus subtracted from 100 is 90. It's still not bad for a bannerman in the first crisis, as you can see. Like, it happened. Did it work all the time? No, but it doesn't need to work all the time. It needs to work most of the time, and it certainly did. Um, we probably could have gone with gifted to just boost it up a little bit more. And as long as we were pretty close to 110, it really didn't matter if he had these, because I think there's some sort of a cap at 100 where you get the 10% of the resolve, but I don't think it goes above 100. So even if you have 140 resolve, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, um, that you'll still only get 10% of 100, which is 10, of course. So if that's not true, I'd be interested in hearing from that from you guys about that. But you know, terrible, not terrible, uh, below average melee skill, and level 9. But man, he made it, and he was our bannerman, our sergeant, all the way. Now here's our slingshot. Probably not tank. Maybe a good stunner, or I guess he was a tank in some ways. Started off as a poacher in his years before becoming a militiaman in the People's Militia. And with the company for since day one, took part in 93 battles, had 89 kills, so nearly 1-to-1, which is pretty great. The most powerful opponent he vanquished was a necromancer. So again, necromancer above orc warriors, orc berserkers, well, probably orc young. I could see that, but it's interesting that it's so high up. I wouldn't have placed necromancer so high. Okay, sure, he has some magical abilities, but one-on-one, he's pretty bad. The necromancers are gonna fall against most of the People's Militia. So it's interesting that um, the necromancer was the most powerful for Kurt, and for some other ones as well, as we've seen. I don't think I saw who this was. So yeah, the orc warrior took part in 96 battles, 64 kills. So it looks like Kurt might have sat out a few battles. I think Sergeant Akmar here probably sat in every battle. Oh, here we go. We have 100 battles here for Sigurd. So the sergeant had even sat out for a few battles. But it looks like Sigurd never sat out if 100 is the most. Bjarne. Bjarne, another one of our beasts, our saviors of the company. Um, let's see what he had. 110 days, took part in 98 battles, so he sat out in a couple at least. 124 kills, so his kills to battles ratio is greater than 1. That's great. The sword lance definitely set him over that ratio of 1, because I remember on more than one occasion where he would kill 2 or 3 enemies with one swipe, one reap of the sword lance. This weapon, I don't know. I was talking about the pole hammer before, and the things that I love about the pole hammer, I'm not sure if I can say are better than the things that I love about the sword lance, but both of those weapons in general, I mean, they're not the same for a good reason. They do very different things, so I can't really compare them, but they are both fantastic weapons. And the sword lance, I think, proved that here in this campaign. Um, Being able to reap after moving two hexes was pretty sweet as well. We didn't really put him into a position where underdog was very useful. Berserk, I remember using Berserk. We'd kill an enemy and then use with reap, and then we could reap again. That was pretty fun. Um, yeah, so I guess, I wanted him to be the duelist, I think, at the beginning, and then he kind of slowly, uh, or I kept him on the back line with Alfred for quite some time, and then Alfred ended up picking up that two-handed sword and stepping forward. I think Alfred actually picked up was one-handed with the arming sword for quite some time, and then I gave him a shield to step up because of some injuries I remember. Um, but Bjarne here never really stepped up. I think most of the time he was on this side of on the left side of the battle line. But there were a few times where I was a bit more aggressive with him and sent him out. But I don't think I was as aggressive as I should have been or could have been with Bjarne. Um, Having overwhelm near the end, having underdog, and dodge. I think there's some good combinations there for him to be defensive and be aggressive. at the same time. So even with relentless and dodge, so I could have been more aggressive with him, knowing that he probably was going to not take many hits, but I didn't. And he's still alive, and he still killed the most, it seems. So Kunibert. Kunibert was one of these guys that I had a hard time keeping him alive. It seems he ended up with brain damage, missing finger, and a weakened heart. His hit points dropping all the way down to 37. And yeah, I mean, in the end, I think he just became that grenade tosser, and that was about it. Sure, from time to time he would hit with his heavy throwing axes or heavy javelins, but he wasn't really the brother I really wanted him to be. But I'm okay with it, 60 range skill with throwing weapons is better than just decent, at least in my opinion. And I wish I could have used these grenades a bit more. I kind of suffer from being a hoarder when I get items such as this. You can see that with the strange mushrooms. I don't know. I don't know when is the best time to use it, and I feel like there's always going to be a better time to use it. So I just tend to hold on to it and wait until a better time to use it. Um, Even though I could have purchased a ton of these fire pots or any of these other pots here, um, and I could have used the strange mushrooms. Sure, these were all options that I had, but every time that I had the opportunity to use them, I thought, okay, maybe there's going to be next turn. Next turn might be the time to use the fire pot, and then either I would forget about it, or um, or I would defeat the enemies in that target area and just move on. So maybe I did the right thing by waiting, but maybe I could have turned the tide of battle in our favor a couple times when it wasn't by tossing in a grenade like this. And last but not least, Evald with the company for 95 days. So he joined the company 15 days into the campaign, took part in 85 battles with 65 kills, and he actually killed the robber baron. I'm not sure who that is. The robber baron. Hmm. Orc berserker, orc warrior, necromancer. Yeah, so orc warrior there too. Um, berserker. Yeah, the rob baron. Maybe it was a leader at some point. I'm not sure. He ended up missing a nose. So at some point during the campaign, he dropped his nose somewhere on the battlefield and was not able to reattach it. He was a vagabond before. I don't think I. Oh, okay, he was a Kunibert was an apprentice. Bjarne the tailor, the day tailor. Man, I love day tailors. There's something about day tailors that I don't know. I assume it's just probably my luck with them, but I end up finding a day tailor very frequently that I like and want to keep around. And then Kurt the poacher, right? So yeah, Evald, a flanking axe. Taking axe mastery allowed him to, attack um, adjacent targets, and he wasn't, not the best. Pretty close to average for melee skill, but maybe below average, what you want to be at level 9. But you know what? Again, this is the last time I'll say it. You do not need perfect brothers to make it this far, and I think I've proved that with this campaign. A survivor, yeah. So that's why he got back up and said screw it after not finding his nose. So I think it seems that Sigurd here took part in, if not all of the battles, then all except for one or two that we can't seem to find that happened with any of the other statistics here. Um, and it's almost, I think it's pretty obvious that Bjarne ended up with the most kills, 124 kills. Um, yeah. So, one last thing, we'll pay our respects to the brothers that had fallen a lot more than I was expecting. Actually, I'm a little bit in shock here. Um, but Ingolf chopped up by an orc warrior. Thorben, a tank that we had for a long time. I say melee there, but um, he was a tank. He was a spearman on the right flank there. Disemboweled by Mosh Shaggot. Poor guy. And he might have been the best that we lost. Burner looked like he had some good potential and he didn't make it. Egon, I remember, our quartermaster build, disemboweled by an orc warrior. But as far back to the beginning, ripped to shreds by a direwolf, Karsten, and Herman Casimir, stabbed by a brigand thug. So you can see we had this was very early days with the brigand thug. Casimir was one brother that looks like we wanted to keep. Of course, if you're, I don't know if you're just joining now, then these dots, dash, and star is basically my way of grading them as how much I want to keep them around. So you'll see that 1, 2, 3. You know, there's some dots in here that I wasn't too sad about losing or hurt about losing. The dashes, I was a bit more hurt. I'd like to see them a bit longer. Egon, I remember when Egon fell. He was my first hybrid that I've pretty much ever focused on being a hybrid ever in all of my hundreds of hours in this game. I've just never cared too much about building hybrids, and I think in this game or in this campaign I've learned that one is a pretty good number to have. I think one hybrid, but if we could have a couple frontliners with javelins and still carry their shield and we could just switch out, I think that's very helpful. They don't necessarily need to be hybrids. If they hit sometimes, that's fine. But it does seem to entice the enemies to charge us a little bit more. So we can use that in our favor. And yeah, one last thing I want to say about the obituary. It would have been nice to see more information about them. It'd be great if I could, put the cursor over Ingolf's name and it shows their picture or shows anything, any information about them. This is not enough. How many days they were there, battles, kills, and how they died. I'd really like to see more information here. I know there's mods that do have that, and the Legends mod does a bit more information, but it's still not sufficient for what I'd like to see in Battle Brothers obituary. So, 16 men fallen since we started the campaign, and then we ended up with 16, I think. So we had a total of 32. Yeah, 16. All right. Well, with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed the campaign. Any comments, any conversation about the perks, about the brothers, about the campaign, about future campaigns, is greatly appreciated. I'd love to have any conversations with any of you. Yeah. So you can join me for the next series. I have already started a Legends series. The Battle Brothers with the Legends mod has already started. It's actually going to be the same day as this episode, so you'll be seeing both of those put out on the Monday Wednesday um, schedule. So if you're interested in one or the other, you can stop by on those episodes for that campaign. Or if you're duly interested in both, then stop by for both. It'd be great to see you there. So again, as always, thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time.